I see we have a young audience in the $5 seats. I don't know how interesting this is going to be for you because I'm going to use some big words, but I will explain them. And apropos of big words, I was once giving a talk in the town hall of Philadelphia, and I lost my way. And I asked the boy, "Where is the town hall?" And he told me, I do not remember the exact address, but something like 12th and Chestnut. And he said, "What are you going to do there?" I said, "Give a talk." "On what?" Well, I didn't want to tell him that I was talking on my usual subject, which will be my subject this afternoon, the accipito frontalis of the convolutic convolutions of the metaphorical obliquarum pelviarum. So I simplified it, and I said, "Well, boys, I'm going to talk on heaven and how to get there. Would you like to come and find out?" They said, "You don't even know the way to the town hall." And another story comes to my mind about big words. I began my teaching career in England, and I was lecturing this particular day on the subject of theandric actions. Now that sounds very learned, but a theandric action is very simply one in which our blessed Lord combines his divine and human nature. For example, when our Lord picked up some dust, mixed it with spittle, and applied it to the eyes of the blind man, that is a theandric action, because it was the action of God and man. But when you explain it to a class, you never make it that simple, otherwise you'd never be a teacher. It's always the business of a teacher to complicate the ordinary simple things of life. So I had spent 18 hours preparing the lecture, and honestly, I didn't know what I was talking about. I hadn't the vaguest idea, really. And when I finished the lecture, I heard one of the deacons say, "Oh," he says, "you know, this Dr. Sheen's the most illuminating lecture, most illuminating." And I said, "Well, what did I say?" He said, "Well, I don't quite know." And I said, "Neither do I." So that day, I became conscious of the fact that sometimes you get a credit for being learned when you're only confusing. Now I'm going to tell you about our Lord. I'm just addressing myself apparently to these people. Are you there? Yes. But it's always a challenge. I'm going to tell you about our Lord. And let me read a passage from St. Paul which you may not understand. And you like to carry away big words too, don't you? So I tell you what you do. There are a number of boys and girls that didn't come to this lecture. You can be much smarter than they are, because I'm going to give you a word. And I will tell you what it means. And you ask them what it means. They're ignorant children. They don't know things. The word is Kenosis. 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 Now I will explain it. Let me read this passage to you from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians. Incidentally, this passage that I am reading to you was once a hymn in the early church. Greek scholars have found the meter of this particular verse. And just think, Paul wrote his epistles before the Gospels were written. So this was the creed in the eastern part of the world before we had any New Testament. And here is the passage. Let your bearing toward one another arise out of the life of Christ. For the divine nature was his from the first. By this is meant our Lord was always God. The divine nature was his from the first. Yet he did not think to snatch at equality with God. He didn't try to be like God because he was God.